We have Senator Jonathon Duniam, the Shadow Minister for the Environment. Thank you so much for your time tonight, Jonathan. Now, the knockback of the application to get the Central Queensland coal project going is a setback for jobs. It's going to particularly affect people in that triangle between Rockhampton, Middlemount and Serena, with flow-on impacts for Brisbane. Here's a map for those who don't know the region well, but it has a broader chilling effect on industry everywhere, doesn't it, Senator?
Absolutely right, Amanda. And I mean, you sort of hit the nail on the head at the beginning there, and that is the emergence of this pattern around how Labor, who won the election on the policies that they took to the election, are going to treat projects like this. And saying no to this is the first time we're aware of that under the EPBC Act we've seen a coal mine blocked. Now, listening to the Minister there talk about how this mine was going to pose this significant risk to the reef is a little odd, given we know already there are mines in the area closer to the reef, which you would think, based on what she has said, are having a significant impact on the environment of that special part of the world. So what does it mean for those mines? Should they be sitting on tenterhooks worrying about whether the Federal Environment Department and Tanya Plibersek are going to come knocking at their door saying, hey, we're not so sure you can continue to operate? And of course, as you said before as well, the flow-on impacts for the economy, for people's jobs, for their capacity to pay their increasing mortgage repayments, put fuel in the car, put food on the table, pay their power bills out of coal-fired power stations. How are they going to be able to make ends meet when there's no certainty and, in fact, in this case, no jobs for people in that community?
Too right. How does the Plibersek decision to revisit the approvals of 18 coal and gas projects in Queensland compound those economic impacts?
Well, again, it speaks to that pattern that you mentioned before. Never before have we seen this sort of ideological attack against a particular form of commodity, which is responsible for generating the great majority, up to 80% of our energy generation in this country, as we know, is from fossil fuels. We can't just turn the tap off. But 18 projects, like you say, some of these projects have been drawn in for reassessment courtesy of a group called Environment Justice Australia, which incidentally, would you believe, this government and this minister have given $10 million to in their last budget in October to do these very jobs of drawing into question these projects. And so the people of Australia can thank this government for funding these activist groups to stop these new mines, prevent there being coal coming on stream, and we're going to see more blackouts, more expensive power. I know you guys have already had blackouts up in Queensland. This is going to be more commonplace, and it's going to hurt Australians more and more.
That is a shocking gravy train. It's extraordinary to think that this is what's going on. I mean, how does this impact not only the ability of Australians to get the job they want, but affect the inflation in the prices of the things that they need to buy?
Yeah, well, it wasn't that long ago that we heard nearly 100 times our Prime Minister now say, we will reduce power bills by $275. And it was one of those things that I reckon voters thought they could take to the bank. He said it with such certainty. But after May 21 of last year, that number, that promise has been mentioned 0 times. And short of asking a question like what comes after the number 274, Prime Minister, well, you will never be able to get them to say this number. So blocking new coal mines, which are responsible, as I say, for a huge amount of our energy generation in this country, preventing there being investment being placed into exploration for new gas fields, we are going to see immense pressure, and we already are seeing immense pressure on energy generators. The end result is going to be power prices going up, and I thought it was passing strange, in fact, no, insulting, to have the Treasurer today say, hey, good news, everyone, your power prices aren't going to go up by 36%, it's only going to be 23%. I don't reckon there were many high fives around the dining table in people's homes when they heard that news. It's shocking that they make this promise at the election multiple times and afterwards, just months afterwards, show us that there's going to be these massive spikes in prices. It shows how out of touch they are and how they did whatever it took to get into government.
Now, you're a Tasmanian, and there's been some talk in the news about whether drag queen story time should go ahead in that part of the world. Now, warning viewers, I'm about to show you a picture of the artist involved named Pussy Poppins. Now, most adults don't care if another adult wants to go to a drag show. Yes, the content's sexual and it's provocative and it might offend some, but adults can make their own decisions about whether that fits with their values and interests. But I'm sure most would also agree that it's a completely different matter when we're talking about children. It's not just people in dress up here. This is a highly sexualised type of performance with concepts well beyond the 2 to 5 year target age group that Launceston Library had in mind. What did you make, Jonathon, of the Tasmanian Education Minister's decision to refuse to cancel Drag Queen Storytime?
Well, I made my views pretty clear publicly around this. Kids need to be able to be kids. Kids need to be able to maintain the innocence they have and the wonder of childhood for as long as they possibly can. And what's more, we as adults, particularly those in positions of responsibility who are in charge of making laws and running programs that build up the next generations of leaders, should be focusing on things like the basics: reading, writing, arithmetic, those sorts of things, not this sort of stuff happening in a state government-funded library. Now, I've made my views known both directly to the government, but also to the Director of Libraries Tasmania, and I urged them to cancel it because it's not appropriate to have an adult performer reading to kids. On World Burlesque Day, on the 26th of April this year, we're not going to have burlesque dancers reading to kids in libraries, at least I hope not. So why are we allowing this to happen as part of the Pride Week celebrations? The fact of the matter is, and based on the overwhelming correspondence I've received in my office, you would not see many parents choosing to take their kids to something like this. I know I wouldn't be, and I hope anyone I know wouldn't be doing that either.